Are immigrants safe anymore in America? This question, once perhaps unthinkable in a nation built by immigrants, now echoes with a chilling urgency in the wake of escalating rhetoric and policy shifts. Hi there and welcome to the Aaron Darcy Project, where we discuss matters of importance to people from Guyana and the Caribbean. Today we will be launching a new series that focuses on the recent changes in U.S. immigration policy, especially as it applies to and affects our people in the diaspora. I'm Ryan, your host. Join me as we explore the many ramifications, fears, and uncertainties posed by these recent developments. Daily news headlines paint a stark picture, suggesting a climate where the very presence of non-citizens, and even those with legal standing, is increasingly viewed through a lens of suspicion and enforcement. Just recently, the Department of Homeland Security declared, quote, ICE arrests worst of worst criminal illegal aliens, end quote, highlighting a surge in arrests and a stated mission to hunt down and deport individuals. While law enforcement agencies emphasize targeting those with criminal records, the broader narrative often blurs lines, fostering an environment where all immigrants can feel vulnerable. Beyond the headlines of arrests and deportations, more subtle yet equally concerning developments are unfolding. Reports from earlier this month revealed that the government was allowed by a court to end temporary protected status for thousands of Afghans and Cameroonians, despite acknowledging a plausible case against the termination. This decision, impacting individuals who have built lives and contributed to American society, underscores the precariousness of their legal status. Furthermore, the news that ICE officials can now access the sensitive Medicaid data of 79 million enrollees, including home addresses and ethnicities, raises profound privacy concerns and the potential for increased surveillance and targeting. These actions, coupled with the ongoing political discourse that often frames immigration as an invasion or a source of societal ills, create a palpable sense of fear and uncertainty. Recently, a Pennsylvania grandfather, granted asylum in 1987, was detained during a green card appointment and secretly deported to a country to which he has no ties. Episodes like this forces us to confront the unsettling reality. For many immigrants, the promise of safety in America is increasingly being eroded. Today on the Aaron Darcy Project, we will begin examining the profound implications of current U.S. immigration changes, particularly as they affect Guyanese and other Caribbean nationals who have made the USA their homes for decades. These communities, deeply woven into the fabric of American society through generations of hard work, cultural contributions, and family ties, now face an unprecedented period of legal precarity, socio-economic hardship, and profound psychological distress. The current policy landscape, characterized by heightened enforcement, the erosion of humanitarian protections, and invasive data sharing, threatens to dismantle established lives and communities, challenging the very notion of America as a welcoming beacon for those seeking a better life. The story of Caribbean migration to the United States is one of resilience, aspiration, and significant contribution. While Caribbean people have been present in North America for centuries, a major wave of immigration began after the passage of the 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act. This landmark legislation abolished the discriminatory national origins of the quota system. It opened doors for skilled workers and family reunification and dramatically shifted the demographic composition of new arrivals to the U.S. from Europe, to Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean. Guyanese immigrants, in particular, form a substantial and vibrant part of this narrative. Driven by a complex interplay of political instability, ethnic tensions, and the pursuit of greater economic opportunities in their homeland, Guyanese began migrating in significant numbers from the mid-20th century onwards. The United States became the primary destination, with New York City emerging as a prominent hub for the Guyanese diaspora. Today, Guyanese immigrants constitute one of the largest foreign-born populations in the city, establishing thriving communities, businesses, and cultural institutions. Across the Caribbean, similar patterns emerged. Nationals from Jamaica, Haiti, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, and other islands sought opportunities in various sectors, contributing significantly to the American economy. Many of these Guyanese and Caribbean nationals arrived as professionals. They came as nurses, teachers, and engineers, while others filled vital labor gaps in agriculture, healthcare, and manufacturing. Over decades, these immigrants and their descendants have built stable lives, purchased homes, raised families, and paid taxes, becoming integral parts of their local communities. A notable characteristic of Caribbean immigrants is their high rate of naturalization, reflecting a deep commitment to their adopted country and a desire for full participation in American civic life. Their contributions extend beyond the economic, enriching the cultural tapestry of the U.S. with their diverse traditions, music, cuisine, and vibrant community spirit. This long-term establishment and integration make the current shifts in immigration policy particularly impactful, as they threaten individuals and families who have deeply rooted histories in the United States. The current era of U.S. immigration policy is marked by a pronounced shift towards stricter enforcement, reduced humanitarian protections, and an expansion of surveillance capabilities. This represents a significant departure from previous approaches, creating a more hostile and uncertain environment for immigrants, including those who have resided in the country for decades. One of the most prominent aspects of this shift is the increased emphasis on enforcement and a zero-tolerance approach. The Department of Homeland Security's recent announcement regarding the arrest by ICE of the worst criminal illegal aliens exemplifies this intensified focus. While the stated aim is to target individuals with criminal convictions, the broader implication is a nationwide dragnet. The Project 2025 initiative, for instance, outlines a plan that is a process typically reserved for individuals apprehended near the border. However, ICE is now able to apply this process to anyone anywhere within the country. This plan allows for rapid deportations without any judicial review, raising significant due process concerns. Furthermore, the plan calls for more than doubling the capacity of immigrant detention centers, aiming to hold up to 100,000 individuals daily, and hiring thousands more ICE agents and Border Patrol agents. Some reports suggest that these masked agents are operating more like bounty hunters and appear to be pursuing set monthly quotas, meaning they are being paid to round up and detain as many persons as would help them to achieve their goals. The militarization of the border, along with the internal enforcement apparatus, signals a commitment to mass deportations, regardless of an individual's long-term residency or family ties in the U.S. The rhetoric accompanying these actions often frames migration as an invasion, further demonizing immigrant communities and justifying aggressive enforcement measures. Adding to the legal precarity is the targeting of long-term residents through various policy mechanisms. Even individuals who have lived in the U.S. for decades, often with U.S. citizen children or spouses, find themselves vulnerable. A critical example is the 10-year bar, which can prevent individuals who have overstayed a visa for more than a year from re-entering the U.S. for a decade, even if they qualify for a family-sponsored visa. This means that if a long-term resident, perhaps unknowingly out of status for years, seeks to adjust their status through marriage to a U.S. citizen, they may be forced to leave the country to process their visa, triggering the 10-year bar and effectively blocking their return. This legal catch-22 traps many in a state of perpetual limbo, unable to regularize their status the right way without facing severe penalties. Perhaps one of the most devastating policy shifts for many Caribbean nationals has been the termination of temporary protected status. TPS is a humanitarian program offering temporary legal status and work authorization to nationals of countries experiencing armed conflict, natural disasters, or other extraordinary conditions that prevent their safe return. For decades, individuals from countries like Haiti, Nicaragua, Honduras, and Venezuela have relied on TPS, building lives, raising families, and contributing to the U.S. economy. However, recent decisions, including those affirmed by courts, have allowed the termination of TPS designations for several countries, including those in the Caribbean. For example, TPS for Nicaragua and Honduras has been terminated, and the CHNV, Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela, parole programs, which offered a pathway for temporary entry and work authorization, have also been terminated. These terminations strip hundreds of thousands of long-term residents of their legal protections, rendering them vulnerable to deportation and losing their ability to work legally, despite their deep roots and contributions to American society. Finally, the expansion of data sharing and surveillance represents a chilling new frontier in immigration enforcement. The recent agreement allowing ICE officials access to the personal data of 79 million Medicaid enrollees, including names, addresses, birth dates, ethnicities, and social security numbers, is a profound invasion of privacy. While the stated purpose is to prevent improper access to benefits, critics, including lawmakers and medical experts, warn of its chilling effect. This data can be used to locate and target individuals for deportation, creating immense fear within mixed-status families. It forces a terrible choice: seek essential medical care and risk exposing family members to immigration enforcement, or forego care to maintain safety. This policy not only undermines public health but also erodes trust between immigrant communities and public institutions, further isolating vulnerable populations. These policy shifts, taken together, paint a grim picture. They represent a systemic effort to restrict immigration, increase deportations, and create a climate of fear, directly impacting the lives and futures of long-term Caribbean residents who have long called America home. The implications of these current U.S. immigration changes for Guyanese and other Caribbean nationals who have resided in the USA for decades are far-reaching and deeply disruptive, affecting their legal standing, family unity, socio-economic stability, and psychological well-being. The most immediate and profound impact is the heightened legal precarity and pervasive fear of deportation. For many Latin American and Caribbean nationals, particularly those from countries whose TPS designations have been terminated, for example, Haiti, Nicaragua, Honduras and Venezuela, the loss of this temporary protected status means an abrupt end to their legal ability to live and work in the U.S. These new regulations force them into an impossible choice: return to countries that may still be unsafe or unstable, or remain in the U.S. in the shadows, constantly fearing arrest and removal. Even for those with other legal pathways, the increased focus on expedited removal and the expansion of ICE's reach mean that minor infractions from decades past, or even simple administrative errors, can now trigger deportation proceedings, regardless of their long-term contributions or family situations. The legal system, already complex, becomes a minefield, with individuals facing the daunting prospect of navigating it without adequate representation or understanding of the shifting rules. This legal uncertainty directly translates into devastating family separation and community disruption. While the zero-tolerance family separation policy at the border received widespread condemnation, the current enforcement priorities continue to separate families through deportations of long-term residents. Many Guyanese and Caribbean nationals have U.S. citizen children, spouses, and other immediate family members. When a parent or spouse is deported, these families are torn apart, leaving U.S. citizens to grapple with the emotional and financial fallout. Children, in particular, suffer immense trauma from the loss of a parent, impacting their mental health, educational attainment, and overall development. Communities that have been built over decades, with intricate networks of support, cultural institutions, and shared histories, are fractured as members are removed. This erosion of community cohesion weakens the social fabric and creates a climate of distrust and isolation. The socio-economic hardship is another critical implication. The termination of TPS and other temporary statuses immediately revokes work authorization for thousands of individuals. Their removal or inability to work legally creates significant economic instability for their families and communities, potentially leading to increased poverty and reliance on social safety nets that they are now less likely to access. The news of ICE's access to Medicaid data further exacerbates this. Mixed-status families, where some members are citizens or legal residents and others are not, will likely hesitate to seek essential medical care for fear that doing so could lead to the identification and deportation of undocumented family members. Beyond the tangible impacts, the psychological and social toll on Guyanese and Caribbean nationals is immense. Living under constant threat of deportation, with the knowledge that their personal data might be used against them, creates chronic stress, anxiety, and fear. This pervasive uncertainty can lead to a sense of hopelessness. The feeling of being unwelcome or targeted can lead to a profound sense of betrayal and alienation. This psychological burden affects not only individuals but entire communities, fostering a climate where trust in institutions erodes and social cohesion is undermined. Children, particularly those who are US citizens but have undocumented parents, live with the daily fear of their families being torn apart, impacting their sense of security and belonging. The dehumanizing rhetoric often employed in political discourse further marginalizes these communities, making them feel like outsiders despite their deep roots and contributions. Despite the escalating challenges, Guyanese and Caribbean communities in the United States have historically demonstrated remarkable resilience and continue to do so in the face of current immigration changes. Their long history of navigating complex socio-political landscapes, both in their homelands and in the diaspora, has fostered a deep capacity for adaptation and collective action. A crucial aspect of this resilience is the vibrant network of advocacy groups and legal aid organizations. These organizations, often staffed by individuals from immigrant backgrounds, work tirelessly to provide legal assistance and challenge restrictive policies in court. They play a vital role in helping individuals understand their diminishing options, prepare for potential enforcement actions, and navigate the labyrinthine immigration system. Legal challenges against policies like TPS terminations and the expansion of data sharing are ongoing, reflecting a determined effort to uphold due process and protect fundamental rights. While not all legal battles are won, these efforts provide a crucial line of defense and a glimmer of hope for affected communities. But the frightening reality here is the fact that anyone at any time can be literally snatched off the street by masked persons, thrown into unmarked vehicles and never be heard from again. This can happen in front of their school, place of worship, or even in front of their own house. This is a terrifying reality. Are Caribbean people prepared for this kind of reality? Faced with systemic threats, Caribbean communities are strengthening their internal bonds, creating support systems to assist those most vulnerable. This includes pooling resources, sharing information, providing emotional support, and organizing protests and rallies to raise awareness and demand humane immigration reform. Churches, cultural associations, and grassroots organizations serve as vital hubs for these efforts, offering a sense of solidarity and collective strength. These networks are critical in providing practical assistance, such as helping families prepare emergency plans in case of a parent's detention or deportation, and offering safe spaces for individuals to share their fears and experiences. Furthermore, the economic contributions of Caribbean immigrants, despite the challenges, remain a testament to their enduring spirit. Many continue to operate small businesses, work in essential sectors, and contribute to the tax base, even as they face increased uncertainty. Their entrepreneurial spirit and strong work ethic are deeply ingrained, enabling them to adapt and find ways to sustain themselves and their families amidst adversity. This continued economic activity, often overlooked in the enforcement narrative, underscores their integral role in the American economy and their unwavering commitment to building a better future. The political engagement of Caribbean communities is also growing. Recognizing the direct impact of immigration policies on their lives, many naturalized citizens are actively participating in the political process, advocating for policies that protect immigrant rights, supporting sympathetic candidates, and ensuring their voices are heard. This includes voter registration drives, lobbying efforts, and public awareness campaigns aimed at shifting public opinion and influencing legislative outcomes. This collective action, rooted in a shared history and a common struggle, is a powerful demonstration of their enduring presence and determination to secure their place in America. But the question remains, are immigrants safe anymore in America? Unfortunately, this elicits an increasingly complex and concerning answer for many, particularly for long-term Guyanese and other Caribbean nationals who have built their lives in the United States. Is it time to consider returning to their countries of origin? The current landscape of U.S. immigration policy, characterized by aggressive enforcement, the termination of humanitarian protections like TPS, and invasive data sharing, has created a palpable climate of fear and insecurity. This shift threatens to unravel decades of integration, dismantle families, and inflict severe socio-economic and psychological hardship on communities that have contributed immensely to the nation's prosperity and cultural richness. Can this spirit of determination be reawakened to consider the challenge of returning to their homelands? For Guyanese and Caribbean individuals who arrived decades ago, seeking refuge from political turmoil or pursuing economic opportunities, the promise of America as a land of safety and opportunity is being severely tested. They face the constant threat of deportation, the anguish of potential family separation, the loss of work authorization, and the chilling effect on access to essential services like healthcare. Their deep roots in American society, often spanning generations, are being challenged by policies that prioritize enforcement over humanity and due process. However, the narrative is not solely one of despair. The resilience of these communities, forged through historical struggles and sustained by strong cultural ties, continues to shine through. Many are giving serious consideration of a return to their country of origin, including Guyanese. Advocacy groups, legal aid organizations, and grassroots community initiatives are working tirelessly to provide support, challenge unjust policies, and amplify the voices of those affected. These efforts, coupled with the growing political engagement of naturalized citizens, represent a powerful resistance against policies that seek to marginalize and exclude. Ultimately, the current trajectory of U.S. immigration policy forces a critical re-evaluation of America's foundational values. A nation built by immigrants, that has long prided itself on being a beacon of hope, must confront the human cost of policies that inflict fear and uncertainty on its long-term residents. A more humane and comprehensive immigration reform is urgently needed, one that recognizes the invaluable contributions of all immigrants, upholds family unity, ensures due process, and reaffirms the principle that safety and opportunity should be extended to all who call America home, regardless of their origin. The future safety of immigrants in America hinges on whether the nation chooses to embrace its inclusive ideals or succumb to the divisive forces of exclusion. But another question arises at this juncture for Caribbean and Guyanese immigrants. How are you preparing for the possibility of a confrontation with the new immigration processes? Has the time come to consider remigrating? What are the prospects for a return to your own country? Is Guyana and the countries in the Caribbean ready to receive an influx of re-migrants? What opportunities are there for persons considering returning home? The Aaron Darcy Project will be exploring the mechanisms that exist in Guyana and some Caribbean countries which offer viable opportunities for returning nationals. Guyana, and indeed, other countries in the Caribbean are developing to a point where opportunities for a better life are swiftly emerging. Are you considering, even just a little, returning home? Let us know in the comments below. Well, we hope we have given you some food for thought. Please share this with your friends and associates. There is so much more that we will be sharing on this subject in the weeks ahead, as we put focus on these new developments that affect so many lives. Thank you once again for joining us today, and we look forward to your company on the next episode of the Aaron Darcy Project. Goodbye for now.